Hi everyone, it's Miss Caitlin, and this is our fifth and final lesson of MyGarden. And today, we're going to turn into scientists. We're going to look at a couple different fruits and vegetables, we're going to learn about all those different parts of those fruits and vegetables, and we're going to label them. We're also going to learn how to make a berry salad. So let's get started. For today's activity, we're going to observe, draw, and label some fruits. So let's talk about how we could do that. There's parts words, touch words, texture words, and color words that we could use to describe our fruits. So parts words would be things like peel, rinds, or seeds. So here in my melon, I have our seeds in the middle. This orangey part here is going to be the flesh. That's the tasty part that we like to eat. And then this whitish yellow part right here, that's going to be our rind. So once we cut away our flesh and our seeds, we're just going to be left with this rind here. And for our kiwi, we also have seeds and flesh. They just look a little different. And we also have a fuzzy skin here. I also have a peach with me that also has flesh and skin. And then in the middle here we have a pit. A pit is just like a seed, it's just bigger and there's only one of them, so that's why we call it a pit. So what are we going to do for our activity? I'm going to show you guys some pictures of some fruits. They're going to be whole, and then I'm going to cut them in half, and then you'll be able to see the inside. If you guys have some fruits at home that you'd like to use, that's totally fine, just ask an adult for help. So what I'm going to have you do is grab your utensils that you would use to write and to draw with, and some white paper. I'm going to have you guys label these fruits on your paper. So for example, I would draw the inside of this melon, and I would draw an arrow here, the flesh, and I would label that flesh. And I'll show you guys an example. I'll also show you guys the pictures. So those are going to flash across your screen, and then you're going to pause them so you can take your time to draw them. Let's get started. Here's an example of the activity. I was looking at a melon, so I drew a whole and halved melon. I drew what I saw, and it's not perfect, and that's okay. I then labeled the parts of the melon. So for example, I drew the seeds and drew an arrow pointing to seeds. I did the same for stem, flesh, and all the other parts. Once I was done drawing and labeling my melon, I moved on to journaling about my melon. So here you can see I wrote how my melon was, what it looked like. I used color, texture, touch, and parts words. Yours can look like anything. It does not have to look like mine, as long as you're describing what your melon looks like. You'll do the same thing, draw, and journal about all the fruits that I show you today. Before we get started, I'm going to show you some more color, texture, touch, and parts words. Pause the video here to review and talk about color, texture, touch, and part words. If you can think of any other words, write them down and talk about them with a friend, family member, or adult. take some time here to show someone your journal and talk about it. Hopefully everyone remembers our MyPlate by now. We have fruits, grains, dairy, vegetables, and proteins. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the fruit section. Who remembers in our first video when I said we should eat the rainbow? Who remembers why we should eat the rainbow? Nice job. It's because all of the different colors have something different to offer for our body. Fruits and berries specifically contain fiber, vitamins, and minerals that help our bodies grow big, strong, and healthy. For example, the skin on blueberries provide fiber which help keep our tummies feeling healthy and regular. Colorful foods like strawberries provide vitamins that help keep our skin and hair healthy. Let's take some time here to talk about what your favorite fruits and berries are. Are there any fruits or berries that are new to you and that you would like to try? Next time you're in a grocery store, I encourage you to stop at the fruits and berries, look at all there is to offer, and talk about it with a friend, family member, or adult. How Do Apples Grow? Written by Betsy Maestro, illustrated by Giulio Maestro. Read by Caitlin Toth. When you bite into a juicy apple, you're eating part of a flower. Fruit comes from flowers. In winter, an apple tree is bare. It's hard to imagine it's covered with flowers or fruit, but even in the cold and snow, tiny leaf buds and flower buds are waiting to open. Inside each leaf bud are tiny, curled up leaves. Inside each flower bud are all the parts of an apple flower. Apple flowers are pink and white and sweet to smell, and each flower is the beginning of an apple. When spring comes, there are more hours of sunlight. The days are longer and warmer. The leaf buds open. Tiny green leaves appear on each twig. When the apple tree is covered with leaves, the flower buds begin to open. Up close, you can see bunches of small pink and white flowers at the end of each twig. Each flower can become an apple, but all the right things must happen first. An apple flower has many parts, and each has a special job to do. Around the outside are the sepals. They form a little cup to protect the rest of the flower. As the flowers blossom, the sepals open too. The pretty colored petals and the sweet, flowery smell bring many insects and birds to the apple tree. These animal helpers are needed for flowers to make fruit. Inside each flower are the male and female parts that make a new apple grow. The male parts are called stamens. Each flower has many stamens. If you look inside an apple flower, you can see all the stamens sticking up in a circle. At the top of each stamen, pollen is made. Pollen is a yellow powder. Each flower has thousands of pollen grains. Each grain of pollen holds male cells. The female part of the flower is called a pistil. You can see some of the pistil right at the center of the flower. The pistil has tiny tubes with sticky tops. At the bottom of the flower, out of sight, these tiny tubes meet. The place where the tubes meet is the ovary. The ovary is the part of the pistil that holds the female cells. The ovary will become the inside core of the apple. An apple can grow when the male cells join the female cells. When the flower is fertilized, the male cells from the pollen have to reach the female cells in the ovary. This sounds easy, but it's not. The apple flower can be fertilized only by pollen from a different apple tree. Since the apple tree can't move, they can't carry pollen themselves. They need helpers for this job. Bees are some of the apple tree's best helpers. Bees are attracted to the colorful petals of the flowers. They like the smell of the sweet flower juice, the nectar. Bees fly from tree to tree collecting nectar. They will use the nectar to make honey. As the bees gather nectar, pollen grains stick to their bodies. When they land on the flowers of other apple trees, some of this pollen falls off. The grains of pollen land on the sticky tops of the pistil's tubes. The male cells in the pollen grains travel down these tiny tubes. At the bottom, they reach the ovary. Here, the male cells join with the female cells. The flower is fertilized. Now the petals fall to the ground. The petals are no longer needed. They have done their job. The flower has been fertilized. Now an apple will begin to grow. It will grow right at the spot where the flower meets the stem. As the fertilized ovary grows bigger, it forms the apple's core, which holds the seeds. They will be protected here. Around the ovary, the rest of the apple is swelling too. This is the white, fleshy part that you can eat. Look at the bottom of the ripe apple. You can see bits of the dried sepals left from the flower. When the apple is cut open, you can see the seeds. Look carefully, and you'll see 5 little compartments or sections. There may be as many as 10 seeds inside your apple. The seeds are the fertilized female cells. Apple seeds can grow into new apple trees. The apple tree must feed the growing apples. By using sunlight, water, and air, the leaves make a special kind of sugar. This sugar feeds the fruit. It takes about 50 leaves to make the sugar for 1 apple. All summer long, the apples grow bigger and riper. When fall arrives, the apples are almost ripe. During the last few weeks, the apples can feed themselves. They make their own sugar now. The sugar makes the apples sweet. Sunlight helps the leaves and the apples to make food. It also helps to change the skin color of some apples. Different kinds of apples have different skin colors. Some turn red and others turn yellow. Some varieties of apples stay green even when they are ripe. When the apples are ripe, it is time for picking. If no one picks the apples, they will fall to the ground. Animals will eat some of them and may carry the apple seeds to other places. Some of these seeds will grow into new apple trees. Some of the apples may just rot on the ground. After a while, they will become part of the soil. They will help to feed the tree. As fall ends, the trees lose their leaves. New buds are already forming. They will be next year's apples. For now, the apple tree's work is over. For you, it's the best part. It's apple eating time. The end. Today we're going to make berry salsa. And for our berry salsa, we're going to need a few things. You'll need a pint of blueberries, a pint of strawberries, a knife, a cutting board, a mixing bowl, something to mix with, a tablespoon of lime juice, and a tablespoon of sugar. So for our strawberries, we're going to want to rinse them and we're going to want to cut them into bite-sized pieces. So what I did for mine is I just cut our top off and then I sliced it twice. So we have 4 little bite-sized pieces here. And for our blueberries, not much work here. We just have to rinse them. So we're going to come over here with our bowl. We're going to pour our blueberries in. Pour our strawberries in. Pour our tablespoon of sugar in. And then we have a tablespoon of lime juice. You can also use lemon juice if you like, and just a store-bought bottled lemon or lime juice will work. Once we have all our ingredients in the bowl, we're going to grab our mixing spoon and we're just going to mix it up nice and good until the sugar and the lemon or lime juice coats all of our berries. Alright, and this is what our berry salsa will look like when we're done. You can serve it fresh or you can put it in the fridge to serve later. The last thing I have to show you guys is a take-home handout all about how berries grow. You can look at this and talk about it with a friend, family member, or adult. This is the end of the MyGarden series. Thanks for watching.